Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another special interview on the Fast Lane podcast. I am your host, Brady Hauser, and on today's show we have street stock driver now transitioning over to sportsman this year, Haslin. He races at Fonda and a whole bunch of other tracks, and yeah, we're gonna get him on in a second. And yeah, sounds great. So Brett Keselowski drew the pole for the NASCAR race this weekend. And yeah, it's gonna be different. I liked how they did the draw and all that stuff. That was very interesting, and yeah, that was cool. So we're gonna give him a call, and that starts now. Hello.
Hello there.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Hold on for a second. Just got the volume. There we go. So, what have you been doing during this pandemic to stay healthy and race ready?
I've been working pretty hard in the shop, working for my car and building a new car for my son who's getting back into racing after a couple of years off.
Mm-hmm. So, if racetracks were to open soon, how would you feel if they had no fans in the stands? And how could racetracks avoid this by opening safely?
Well, it's a tough situation for all of us. I mean, I would, as badly as I want to get back to racing again, you know, it does kind of stink not having anybody there. But, I mean, I guess if they could watch it at home and support the track and keep the track going, then I'm okay with that too. You know, plus we get to race again. And,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everybody's got different views about the whole pandemic and political views and whatever, but I just wanted things to go back to normal again. And I think if people respected each other's space and that kind of thing, I think we could slowly go back into normal race times, you know?
Yeah. So, for this, so you made the announcement for this past off season that you're going to be moving up and you're going to make a transition from a street stock to a sportsman. So what's that like for you to get to move up in a race?
It's great for me. I mean, I've attempted it a few times, but tough times, you know. I had to sell the car or whatever, and I never really had a really good sportsman, so it was just kind of half-hearted before. But after that, I kind of concentrated on my street stock career and really wanted to concentrate on getting a championship, which is something I'd never had, and I accomplished that this past year over at Glenridge. So, and had a great season, won one at Fonda and 6 at Glenridge. So, I mean, it was a great year, and I just I fell into a deal from a good friend of mine. His brother was getting out, and it was just one of those natural things, you know. And my street stock, honestly, was pretty well had it. I was patching it together every week. So
yeah. So, what got you started into racing, and how long have you been racing for?
Well, I've always had the love of everything motor sports-wise since I was a little boy. I watched The Wide World of Sports, used to be on ABC, and they used to show Islip Speedway, and I was fascinated from the time I could crawl, you know. And my mom took me to a dirt race. I think I was probably 7, 8 years old at Fonda, and I was hooked ever since, you know. And then I kind of fell into a deal. I was helping a guy that started racing street stocks back years ago, and things just happened that he needed a driver, and I jumped in, and that was the end of the story. I raced quite a few years, and then I had a little boy and then a little girl, so I took about 10 years off, and then I came back in. So about 20 years or so total, everything.
Mm-hmm. So for you, what is the best part of being a race car driver?
You know, I love the thrill and, you know, the speed, of course, anybody that races does. But I think it's more like the camaraderie of the pits, because, like, we have a great time every weekend, you know, and you see other teams jumping in to help other teams out and just hanging out together and you know, things like that. I think that's probably the biggest part of it, you know, it's just the camaraderie mostly.
So what is it like to be racing being a father in racing as well? What's that like to be racing as a father?
You know, that it's pretty wild because my mom, I used to do some pretty crazy stuff years ago on dirt bikes and stuff, and my mom always said, one day, you know, you're going to have kids and they're going to make you feel that way. And my daughter, she has absolutely no fear, and then my son, he races too, or raced too. We got him started in go-kart racing, and I did a lot of pacing, you know, back and forth because they made me nervous. But we had a lot of good times, and they did very well. And unfortunately, my daughter has fallen ill, so she can't do that kind of thing anymore. But Dan raced go-karts for quite a while and then made the progression into four-cylinder cars. Kenny Hollenbeck actually gave him his first shot, let him drive his backup car, and he did well. He finished fifth his first time out with it. So we built him a car. Well, he's 22 now. He was 16 then. So we built him a car that winter, and he raced for quite a few years. And then he got asked to do some announcing, and he fell in love with doing that. So he took some time off, and then situations changed at Fonda, so he had Saturday nights free, and he kind of expressed a desire to get back into it. So it makes a lot of work for me, but it's very rewarding too as a father to see him go out there and do well.
So what tracks have you won at this, like, in your career? How many tracks have you, or what tracks have you won at in your career?
I've won at Fonda and Glenridge. I mean, I've raced a lot of other places, but that's the only two I've ever won at.
So, like, what tracks have you raced at?
I actually started my racing career at Afton Speedway back in the 90s, and then I've raced at Malta. I've raced at Devil's Bowl once. I've raced at, let's see, Utica, Rome once, and then I've mostly tried to stay around here.
So, do you have a favorite track?
You know, that's Fonda's Fonda because of the natural history and all the legends that have raced there, and the speed, the sheer speed is like nothing else. Going into turn 3 wide open, it still makes, even to this day, the hair on my arm stand up every time. So as far as that goes, Fonda is one of my favorites, but as a driver, Glenridge is one of my favorites to drive because you're up on the wheel the whole time, and there's not a minute to take a break anywhere, you know. So as far as a driving standpoint, they're both equally as fun for me. So I guess that's a roundabout answer, but it's hard to pick one.
So have you been able to, like, catch up on the iRacing that's been happening on TV? And have you been...
I've watched some of it. Yeah, I've watched some of it.
Have you tried it at all?
No, I don't have a rig or anything, but I kind of... I'm a little awkward. I mean, I can play GTA all right, but I'm a little awkward when it comes to computer games. But I enjoy watching it. My son's expressed an interest in getting into it, actually.
Yeah. So, what goes through your mind when you're, like, spinning out and potentially going to crash, like, anytime?
Well, the first thing I think is, boy, I hope the whole field misses me. And usually they do. You know, I mean, sometimes things happen. You get dumped or whatever, and in front of the whole pack, and people are going to bounce off you. It's just part of the thing. I guess your biggest wish is hoping that the car makes it out okay and that I make it out okay, and we can do it again the following weekend, you know?
So, what is your, like, favorite racing memory in your career?
In my career, probably when I won my very first feature. That was at Fonda Speedway. Always being a low-budget guy, you know, and putting things together out of people's throwaway parts or whatever. It was always kind of tough, but we always ran pretty well. You know, we were always usually in the top 5, but just one night the cards aligned, and I won my first race at Fonda, and that was just unbelievable. And between that and my first championship last year, they're probably my two biggest.
So you have had some, like, a lot of experience in the race car. So what's it like to be able to, like, be knowing that people know your name because you're, like, you're on the champions list and all that stuff down at these tracks and stuff? What's that like for you?
Cool. It's pretty cool, you know. I mean, usually I'm pretty much an army of one up in the shop, you know, and do things alone up there. But you know, I really enjoy the camaraderie at the track and stuff. But it's pretty cool now, like, especially with social media, people see, you know, they recognize your face more and that kind of thing. And like, I'll be at Stewart's or something. Hey, great race last night, you know, this, that, and the other thing. Yeah. So that's pretty cool for me. I really enjoy that.
So, if you could race against any driver, past or present, who would it be and why? It can be dirt, asphalt, anything.
My all-time favorite driver always was a few. You know, I would probably put myself in the late 70s, early 80s modifieds at Fonda with CD and Louis and Jack and Ray Dalmata and those guys, because that's pretty much who I grew up watching race. And, like, for me, Lou Lazzaro always just was one of those guys that I just idolized, you know. And then and CD Colville, just an amazing driver, and watch him come from the back every week, and got to be friends with CD, you know. And it's just, that would be the era I probably would race those guys.
So, do you have a nickname?
They call me the Hammer.
And how did that get started?
That got started, I did demolition derbies for years, and had a lot of success with that. And I always felt that people were there to see a lot of damage, so, you know, I would hit as hard as I could. And the announcer one time at Cobleskill Fair just started calling me the Hammer, and it just stuck.
So what is it like to be like racing in a demolition derby, and then moving on to be a racer at like a Fonda and like a competitive race? Is there a big difference?
Yeah, there is. I mean, the competitiveness is still there in a demolition derby because everybody wants to win, you know, and or do well and that kind of thing. But I don't know. The derby world just got to be so full of drama. Like we used to all like get together and wreck each other, and then go ride the bumper cars afterwards. I mean, I guess that was an older crowd or whatever, but now it's like they want to try to kill each other, you know, and the fun just started going out of it for me because people were like over welding their cars and doing this and doing that and putting race engines in, and it just wasn't demolition derby to me anymore, you know. So the fun was gone, and in the racing world it's different because, you know, you're always trying to improve on your skills. I mean, you can have the best engine, best tires, everything, but if you need to have the skills to drive it, you know, and so it's a constant challenge, and I think I enjoy it a lot more myself.
So what other hobbies do you enjoy besides racing?
I restore old cars. I have a muscle car fascination, so I restore old cars for people, and one of these days I'll finish one for myself again. And I'm actually working on a 1956 Chrysler for my son as well. So he has the same passion, and then we go to a lot of rock concerts. We're both. Anybody knows my son knows he's stuck in the 80s, kind of like his father. So I mean, we do a lot of the same concerts and stuff. So that's stuff we enjoy. So
what are some like dream tracks for you as a race car driver?
Fulton Speedway is one I've always wanted to turn a lap on, and I never have. Just always loved Fulton and Brewerton as far as that goes too. Brewerton's like a really beautiful track, and those two used to be years ago called the Outlaw Series with Utica Rome, and I used to go watch the three tracks a lot when Fonda wasn't running, and I just always wanted to turn a lap at those two, and I haven't yet. So it's maybe someday.
Yeah. If you ever got the chance to ride in a NASCAR, would you take that opportunity?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't so much watch it anymore because of the way things have gone with NASCAR, because I'm kind of old school, I guess. But I used to be into it really huge, you know, and I would love to take a lap with somebody like Richard Petty or Cale Yarborough. Those were the guys I really liked, or even up into the era with Casey Kane. He was one of my favorites, you know.
Yeah. So that's all I really have for today. You got any questions for me by any chance?
You know, I just got a comment. It's really glad to see young guys like yourself so interested in motorsports. It's what keeps the sport going. I just want to say thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for being on today. And
hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, good luck this season if we get racing.
All right, hope to see you soon.
Yep. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
And that is my latest video. That is interview with street stock, now sportsman driver Cliff Haslin. He will be racing at Fonda this year in Glen Ridge. Before this video ends, I just want to give another big shout out to Barney Sign Co. for this awesome banner over here to my right. They did it the other day and it falls over. They did it for me, and just reach out to them and they'll do your banners and signs and all that stuff. And also another shout out to Lauren Adams. She does graphic design on computers and stuff, and she will do logos and stuff like that for you. And yeah, so make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. We're still on the road to 100, and thank you guys for watching, and take care.